Frank's Red Hot is the perfect blend of flavor and heat, so you can use an entire bottle to make recipes like buffalo chicken dip or buffalo nachos, or even things that don't start with buffalo. Frank's Red Hot, I put that on everything.
Craig.
Raindrops kept falling on Pullman while the Cougs were kicking Colorado's ass again. Homecoming was happy, and now we don't have to spend the podcast complaining, 'cause Wazoo won, so football is fun. All right, I had to spend more time on it since I didn't do one last week.
Football is fun again.
Yes.
Hooray!
And this is a happier podcast versus everyone. I'm Craig Powers. With me is Jeff Newser. Jeff, we can talk about a W finally.
Hooray! I know, we were saying on Friday, like we need one. And we got one. A good one.
Oh yeah, I in the post game, I of course had B and Amanda with me, but Amanda was fading fast, and I had some friends that wanted to go out, and so we went out, and one of my friends just waved to a guy just because he was kind of drunk, and it's like, oh, like kind of a go Cougs, and the guy came over and started talking to us, he turns out he's like, are you guys the podcast guys? And he asked me if I was Jeff, and I was like, nope, I'm Craig.
I'm the tall one.
I'm the tall one. I'm Craig. And shit, I'm sorry it was late, and now I can't remember your name, man. I know you're listening. I'm really sorry, dude.
It's okay. Like, late is an okay excuse, but like, listen, I have, it's part of my job description is to know people's names, right?
Well, yeah, it was late and I was drinking.
Yeah, dude, I forget so many. It takes me a month to learn all my kids' names, and then when the next year rolls around, I see some of them in the hallway and I'm like, hey! And then I'm like stalling for like 10, 15, 20, 30 seconds while I search the recesses of my brain for their names. So anyway, don't feel bad. Don't feel bad, Craig.
Yeah,
you were in the midst of some extreme joy. So
I know. I'll remember it after the podcast, after we're done, probably.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, we had fireball shots and we had beers and it was fun. And basically I was talking with him and some of my friends. Like, yeah, it'd have been rough. This recording would have been rough if WSU would have lost again.
Yeah, that would have been bad.
Yeah.
That would have been really bad.
But WSU didn't lose. WSU kicked some butt.
Yeah, they kicked the shit out of them.
Yeah, it was fantastic. Even though in the stadium it was miserable. And, it was a sold-out game, but I think a lot of people were like, nah. They might have been in a bar or in their RV or their hotel, and they're like, nah, I'm not going to go.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but it looked like it got worse as the game went on. Is that an accurate assessment?
So it started out really bad, like during the like all day. It was raining super hard.
I know it was bad during the tailgate.
Bad during tailgate, and it was bad during the first quarter. But then it kind of started not raining because we were trying to figure out if it was still raining because I was under the cover, under the boxes and the suites. So I always get my season tickets there so I don't get wet. But
Smart.
We were looking and you couldn't see it anymore, but we figured out we looked down on the Colorado sideline and there was like an equipment box and you could see the drops still happening. So it never stopped. But in the second half, it just, by the time midway through the third quarter, it had kicked up. We'd look up on the video board, they'd show a close up of a player and it'd just be like torrential sideways rain. And you're like, oh man. Which makes the offensive...
the sun goes down and the temperature drops and it just...
Well, the temperature stayed roughly the same all day and it got warmer like at 11. Like it got a few degrees warmer. It was kind of weird. But yeah, it was... we all expected it to be like 45 to 50, but it was like 35 degrees all day. And so I probably needed another layer in the stadium. We were cold. We were bundling up my daughter. She was having a blast, though. I've trained her for this. The fight songs and Back Home and the chants, and
it's beautiful.
When we first pulled into town, we go to like Crimson and Gray, and it's just like she's walking down the aisles going, "Go Cougs, go Cougs, go Cougs, go Cougs, go Cougs."
Yeah.
Oh wow, go Cougs. She always likes to say, "Oh wow."
That's so much better than I did. My children, I taught them Huskies suck first. And that got embarrassing in the grocery store.
Oh yeah, I'm trying to teach. Every time purple comes up, I just say evil, and Amanda is not appreciating that. She is not. She's like, don't do that. And I'm like, I'm just still gonna do it when you're not around. So
yeah. Well, we taught them yuck. So like, because they can handle 1 or 2 syllables, right? And so we were like, yuck. Yuck, and then so they started to go yuck, and then we go to the grocery store, and it's yuck, some old lady in purple. And this actually happened to Sarah one time in the store. She I'm pretty sure it was Joshua, one of the boys, saw some lady in purple and goes yuck, and then Sarah, of course, is thoroughly apologetic, right? She's like, oh no, it's okay, I'm so sorry, he's not that rude, it's just my husband's a Coug and he went to Washington State, and then she goes, it's okay, we're Cougars too. And like that was so that made Sarah feel just a little bit better, because she was gonna let me have it when she got home, but that nice little old lady saved the day on me. So thanks, little old lady, for understanding.
Yeah, but the weather was awful. That was one of the worst weather days.
I don't blame anybody who didn't go.
Oh, I don't blame anyone, and people who left. Because I totally get it, because I know a lot of people that left at like halftime or whatever, because it was really cold where we were, and we weren't getting rained on, and Amanda wanted to leave like start of the fourth quarter. She's like, can we go? And I'm like, no, not after UCLA. I'm staying.
No,
I'm seeing that video board say Cougs win. Like that's gonna happen.
That's right.
And my daughter was great. She only had one fit, and that was when Gordon threw his bad interception, and it seemed like she wanted to get down and stand on the concourse, or stand, because she likes to stand while she watches. But but it was exactly, she threw the fit right when he threw the pick. So I was like, that's perfect timing, kid.
Yeah.
No one's gonna complain about you crying. But yeah, so the weather was awful. Like I saw, it's about as cold and miserable. Like the tailgate was just rough, because we brought B out to it for about 30 minutes, and then Amanda just went back and sat with her in her car and watched like videos on the iPad, and I just hang out, watch the Sounders. That was fun.
This is not a Sounders podcast, but
no, but then we
was badass,
and we watched the Huskies. It felt good going in, because the Sounders won, and then as I'm walking into Martin Stadium, the Huskies turned it over the last time, and UW's gonna win. And so it just, and then Oregon, I know Oregon's going to win. So I'm like, all right, feeling good going to this game. I'm just getting drenched in like the 5 blocks from my parking spot to the stadium entrance.
Yeah.
But yeah, we had B, with the covered her on her stroller, but yeah, it was miserable. I'm impressed with the people that were uncovered and stayed the whole game.
Yeah,
because that was just that was rough. But yeah, so cheers to everyone who stayed, and cheers to anyone who braved the weather to come, because that is completely miserable to be sitting in 15 degree winds, 35 degree temperatures, and just downpour of rain that's nonstop for an entire day. So cheers to
earlier
everyone.
in the day, Sarah was like, we could still go. And I'm like, no, I don't want to.
Remember the last Colorado game?
Well, and that game wasn't even as cold. Like that was just wet.
That was more like in the
I think that
45 to 50.
Yeah,
range.
45 to 50.
Because that's what I thought this was going to be.
Just dumping rain.
I was like, that one, I had like just a sweatshirt on.
Yeah, that one was just a matter of staying dry.
Mm-hmm.
And this one was more than that.
But yeah, the one thing the weather had me a little worried when it was a little worse. But I mean, I'm just impressed at how well the offense moved, particularly early, in that really bad weather. Like that was impressive. They came out right away. The defense bends, doesn't break. Colorado kind of stupidly tries a long field goal, which won't be the first time they do that. And that goes wide. 4th and 3 field goal. Thank you, Mel Tucker, for bringing those SEC principles.
SEC strategy.
Yeah, SEC strategy to Pullman. So we get off to a good start. The defense feels good. They got to stop because anytime the other team doesn't score, even if it's a missed field goal, that's a stop for this day. I don't care. Plus, the drive wasn't.
Had they given up a field goal, I would consider it.
Oh yeah. I was already like, I had put it on the board mentally. I'm like, hey, just 3 points. Yeah,
field goal.
3 points. Great. Cougs go get 7. 7-3 is great. But yeah, that game couldn't have started any better. You start out with that stop. WC goes right down the field, touchdown. Got big play from Aesop Winston, big run from Max Borghi on that drive, and then you have the Buffs punt next time out, or interception. Sorry,
interception.
So you get the interception. Cougs are deep in territory. 3 plays later, touchdown again. Buffs drive for a field goal. They make it this time. But that's a red zone stop.
Which was another, like I remember, like I tweeted, was like, Mel, all you're doing is giving us a 4-point advantage. And,
yeah, exactly. Yeah, you're already down 14-0. I get it. You just want to get points on the board. You want your offense to feel like they're doing something, but you're on the 5-yard line, and you're probably going to need those points. You know how bad your defense is. Yep. But yeah, so they kick that field goal. And then WSU, then Max Borghi just does a Max Borghi thing and has an incredible run. That was he showed off all of his skills there. A great cut, shows off the speed, just totally
accelerating to the edge.
Yeah, that was incredible.
Stepping out of tackles, it was
when he cut to the outside, you were like, man. He could break this because of his speed, and he just ran straight through the defense and didn't get touched again until about the 5-yard line, where he just drug a guy in for a touchdown. It was just a display of how talented he is. But then you keep rolling. Kind of a disappointing try. Defense still holds, and then a disappointing drive where they had 2 back-to-back drives, and we can get into this. Maybe in a little bit, talking about the kind of, because I always like to kind of run through the recap, and then we can get it. But 2 back-to-back drives where they go turnover on downs after Max gets a 3rd and short carry that doesn't work out, and then Gordon gets pressured out of the pocket and tries to run for it and doesn't even come close. And then another one where they again have a 3rd and short, and again it doesn't work out with a Borghi run. And so you're thinking, man, we're not stepping on the throat here. And because of the UCLA game, you're just like a little bit worried because the Arizona State game where they were up 17, up by 10.
That's always, all of that is always going to be in the back here. I mean, until this year is over.
Yeah, you're like, the defense
always going to be there.
The defense could fall apart anytime. We need to get as many points as we can right now. Yeah. And so you're kind of worried. Defense still holds. And then they come down. It was great. Cougar disappointing punt. They get the ball with about 5 left. They punt, but the defense gets the ball back to them with 3 minutes left. So that was pretty cool. And they were able to drive down. Kind of a disappointing field goal. Again, I think Leach is probably thinking go up 3 touchdowns with an easy field goal. Whatever, it ultimately didn't matter, but and there will be games when the Cougs probably need to go for a touchdown right there because the defense will not hold. So the second half was just it was really impressive. Colorado got their touchdown to cut it to 2 touchdowns. I'm a little worried at that point. I think everyone's like, oh God, this could happen. 2 touchdowns is not that much, but right away, right back. Gordon hits Arconato, big touchdown. Yeah. That was awesome. Great to have Arconato back. We can talk about that too.
And you weren't watching the TV broadcast, but when Colorado got got that touchdown to get within 2 touchdowns, it was like, we've got a game. And it was like, you know what I mean? Like, the announcers were very excited at the idea that Colorado was within 2 touchdowns. And I wanted to be like, bro, it's 2 touchdowns. But at the same time, I was like, yeah, it's 2 touchdowns. Like that could be gone in 5 minutes, you know? So,
right.
Yeah,
but yeah, they didn't let it happen this time.
No, they didn't.
You know, another interception, another touchdown, and then really the fourth quarter. The fourth quarter, that touchdown to make it 38 was when Amanda really wanted to leave, and I was like, nope. And then we just, you know, backup quarterbacks start coming in, and then you just get it kind of a, you know, typical blowout fourth quarter where not much happens after it gets, you know, past like the 4 touchdown threshold. And Colorado, man, they really wanted to get out of there.
They were ready to go home.
When it was 38-10, there was about 8 minutes left. They, on third and I think it was 12 or 15, just straight up ran the ball up the middle. That was like not even a draw. It was just straight up.
They weren't
run.
Even.
Yeah,
they were no longer interested in trying.
Yeah. Yeah, they wanted to get the heck out of there, which it was cold. Cold and wet. You can imagine just standing on that field. You know, a lot of those players not wearing sleeves because they got to be tough guys. Although Max Borghi looked pretty badass without sleeves and his black socks. I love the black socks, man. The black socks look cool, especially. And the jerseys looked kind of cool because they were kind of darkened a little bit. So everything was kind of a little darker, you know, because everything was so wet. So man, just a thorough ass kicking. Let's start with the impressions of the defense, because that's really, I think, the story here. Man, that's just Colorado. You know, when we were doing the analysis before, Colorado's offense, it was kind of a mystery why they were good. You know, like how are they scoring points? You know, a lot of their peripherals aren't that impressive. But then we kind of came down. It's this 3rd and long thing. And sure enough, they were in a lot of 3rd and longs, and they were running the ball quite a lot like we thought. WSU, of course, was letting them run a little better than they've been running previously this season, but that was to be expected. But it wasn't so bad that it was backbreaking, right? So there was like one or two big runs, and that was it. So the defense, particularly against the pass, was very, very good. They pressured Montez quite a bit. They had him moving quite a bit. And man, that dude is not any better than he was as a freshman.
No. I mean, we kind of talked about that on Friday, right? We were like, well, you know, if you stick around long enough, there are certain things that, you know, that you do pick up, certain things you figure out, certain things you get better at. But, you know, if you're not that, for example, if you're not that talented of a passer, right, then, you know, a little bit of weather, you know, is going to, you know, perhaps affect you a little bit more. So, yeah, he was bad. I think Theo tweeted this out. He's, you know, in like 3 starts, he's thrown for under 400 yards total against WSU.
Yeah.
It's completely bonkers, man. He's been terrible. And, you know, I don't know about you. I don't know if there was a point at which you felt like, okay, this is actually like maybe okay. Or the, you know, the defense is, you know, come to play today. It's going to be all right.
Yeah,
for me it was.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, for me, it was that 3rd drive where Colorado was, you know, down 2 touchdowns, decided they needed to, you know, start going to the bag of tricks in order to move the ball.
Right.
And I'm like, yo, that's always a really good sign. And I know that it can work, you know, sort of jumpstart a team or whatever. But when they went to the bag of tricks, you know, they put Chenault in the, you know, in the direct snap situation to try and convert a 3rd down, and then they go flea flicker, and it's like, and then they don't score a touchdown.
Yeah, that's, you know, what I said. I was like, you know, being the smart ass I am when I'm in the stands yelling. I was like, I just yelled like, that was your one trick, and all you got was 29 yards out of it. and you're still outside the red zone. Out like they got him down to like the 20. Like it wasn't that big of a deal. Like that's the type of yardage you would hope from just a regular pass play. So it's like, So that when WSU, I mean, covered that well enough. Like whatever you gave up, but you didn't give up a touchdown, and that's what Colorado wanted out of that play. And they ultimately didn't even get a touchdown out of that drive. So
and that was the point at which I kind of went, we might be onto something today. I mean, they got down to the 5, and then, we kind of hemmed them in, a couple of incompletions, had a little pressure.
Montez missed a wide open touchdown, like a wide open guy in the flat. Wasn't even a hard throw. And he just threw a duck.
Well, there was, so I don't know how easy it was to see from where you were, but Rodgers was sort of in the vicinity. Enough. I couldn't tell. Enough that he wasn't in a good enough position to actually make the play. And I think a better quarterback makes that throw. But I think Montez just saw him just enough that it, threw off something flashed in his brain where he was like, oh, I need to go just a little bit higher and a little bit wider with this than he really needed to. And then that's when it, actually, I think he went a little lower. He
went lower. Right? It was definitely,
so a little lower and a little wider. Anyway, he just thought, I got to get it around this guy. And he kind of almost 3/4 armed it. And then of course it got away from him. So, and the wet ball seemed to bother him, a lot. So, again, once we survived that, and didn't give up a touchdown, they weren't able to run the ball in from there. I was just like, I think, you put another touchdown on the board after that, and you feel like, it's not that it's game over, because again, UCLA, whatever, right? It's not game over, but it's also like, yikes, like Colorado would be in a really bad spot if they're chasing a few touchdowns. And granted, the offense kind of, went into a little bit of a lull after that. This team seems to get a little complacent. I know we'll talk about the offense, but, major credit to the defense to, just continue to keep playing. The offense got a little complacent, and the defense they kept doing their thing. And, to the point where finally they broke and gave up a touchdown, and then the offense was like, okay, we got you. And it worked out fine. So really impressed with the defense.
Yeah. And we talked about in the preview that WSU, the one thing they've been decent at is preventing touchdowns in scoring opportunities. So inside the 40, and then in red zone opportunities inside the 20. And that definitely showed this game. When Colorado got inside the 40 a couple times, couldn't get any farther. That happened on the 3rd and 7 when Montez threw a desperation interception to George Hicks, and then on the first drive and another drive where they missed a long field goal. So it's like So they definitely were the bend don't break that we kind of have been used to over the, particularly when Alex Grinch was around, where it was all about not giving up big plays. Kind of, you're playing a college team, let them screw up. Basically, it was like the motto, and that was what they did. They just waited for Montez to screw up, and he did a lot. Like, he screwed up a lot, and Colorado's receivers dropped balls, and it particularly and once WSU was up, Colorado felt they had to pass more. You could tell. And it wasn't going so well. And it's kind of funny because they were trying to bleed the clock and everything in the first quarter. WSU had the ball for just 4 minutes and 59 seconds in the first quarter, and they were up 21-3.
Three touchdowns.
Yeah, Colorado had the ball for 10 minutes in the first quarter, and they're down 21-3.
21-3. Those touchdowns are good.
Yeah, because I kind of forgot that it was 21-3 by the end of the game. I had forgotten it was 21-3 at the end of the first quarter. It seemed like that took a little longer, just because Colorado had the ball so much. But no, it was like WSU was just scoring so quick because they got, Desmond Patman's touchdown after the interception was quick. They had a couple big plays on the first touchdown drive that got them down there. They weren't long drives. Heck, when it's that cold, you probably just want to keep moving anyway. But yeah, it was the defense, put some stats on it. Overall, less than 5 yards of play, Some of Colorado just running straight into the line right at the end of the game probably helped that a little bit, but it's not like, they had only given up 10 points at that point, and the defense was the reason. Like, the offense kind of did what we hoped they would do, but the defense was the reason that this thing was a laugher by the end. Definitely, and they were close enough to make those plays, interceptions. Marcus Strong's interception was great to see after he just got whipped last week. Apparently he cannot get an interception without drawing a personal foul. Although I do think,
you know what though, I was so okay with that. I was like, you know what, you go for that, buddy. You deserve that right now after all the garbage you've been through the last few weeks. Like, you spin that ball. You enjoy that moment.
Yeah. And same thing. The big reason why Hicks could get his pick is because Montez had nowhere to throw the ball, and he threw in desperation. And they were getting pressure on him. I think they had 7 hurries and 2 sacks. Colorado had only given up 7 sacks on the year before this game, so to get 2 is pretty good. Like, you're looking at a team that was only given about 1 sack a game, and you get 2, and you put quite a lot of pressure on him. That's good. I will say Carson Block got a sack. And we talked to his mom. So I've said before, my season ticket's like about 10 rows down from me is where all the parents sit. So she was just up in the row in front of us, just waiting, like, just until someone makes her move, just trying to stay out of the rain for a few extra minutes. But she was talking to B, and she was talking to us, and she's like, "Oh, my son's number 50." And I was like, "Oh, your son's Carson Block. Cool." And then he made a sack. Like, she wasn't there anymore. I was bummed. But then, of course, he got hurt as well. So I was looking around for it. But yeah, so, Carson Block gets a sack, and Jahad Woods got a sack. I swear there's once a home game, he goes out with an injury and then comes back in. I don't know.
Well, it looked kind of bad too. Yeah, it was like, ooh, that doesn't look good. And then, then he came back, which that was obviously very good. And then he got a sack or tackle for a loss after that. So
yeah, he got a sack. He chased Montez down. He was trying to scramble out of it, but So there was actually decent pressure on the quarterback, and the run defense wasn't good, but it wasn't detrimental.
But it wasn't bad.
Yeah, like it wasn't because if it would have been really bad, I mean, their top guy ran for 105 yards on 11 carries. So, but other than that, like they weren't so successful with it that they felt they could go to it over and over again. And part of that was too the offense just scoring and not giving Colorado a breath at the start of the game, not giving them a chance to settle in any way whatsoever. But the defense just there really hasn't been. This is by far the most impressive defensive game of the season. Because obviously it turns out New Mexico State's offense is awful. So
as it turns out.
Yeah, as it turns out. They're even worse than we thought. And in Northern Colorado, you're a little worried about that. They're getting some big runs. And so they're really, and then, the Houston, it was really only about a half they did well. And then obviously just it's been horrible for first 3 Pac-12 games. But this was definitely the most impressive performance. I don't know how much the rain helps. I'm sure it helped a little bit. But WSU's offense had it too. And they were also playing a bad defense, and that bad defense couldn't do much about it. That's what really made me feel better. Like, if they win this thing 42, you picked 42-35, I picked 45-35. If they win it like that, like, you feel good that they won. But you still feel like, okay, this is still like this is who we are. But now you're thinking at least the defense has the ability to put it on someone occasionally. Like, I'm not saying that they're suddenly fixed, but they had the ability to capitalize on a team that was maybe reeling and struggling. And after the Oregon loss, and they put it on them, and I love it, man. Like less than 5 yards of play is fantastic against a team that was averaging 6.5, I think, on the season. So a team that was ranked 13th in SP Plus coming in, which we were kind of 14th or whatever. So we were kind of wary about, but still.
And a couple of weeks ago, they put up, 35 points on Arizona State?
On Arizona State, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. So Colorado now, their offense dipped to 29. And WSU's defense went from 90 to 78, I think. So so WSU is now ranked 26th in SP Plus.
Yeah.
So all of you are like, oh, we could be 6-1. Yes, they could be because they're ranked 26th in SP Plus. So that's funny because that's about where last year's team finished.
Yeah.
The 11-2 team. So we talked about that last week, the margins and just the probability, like the probable outcomes and what can happen. And we were riding the bad side, but we finally got just a game where they beat a team so bad that it didn't matter if little bullshit happened. So
which was that's super nice.
And a lot of that's because of the defense and how they played. So yeah, man.
Yeah. And I think the most encouraging thing was that, they avoided the big, huge back-breaking plays. And, it's tough to know without, obviously neither one of us are coaches. Neither one of us have access to, all 22 type, looks at anything or whatever. So it's tough to say, particularly what the defense was doing, and if, you made reference to the weather, if maybe they said, there's no way they're going to be able to throw over the top of us. So let's change up our strategy a little bit here to clog up some other areas or whatever. I don't know. But what I do know is that they did not give up any of the huge, back-breaking, defensive huge plays that they've been giving up. And, if there's anything that, Grinch's tenure showed us, it's the value in not giving up the back-breaking explosive play. That you can get away with giving up, chunk plays to some degree. Like if you give up, a 15-yard run at one point, you give up a 20-yard pass at another point. As long as you're not giving up 15, 20, 20, 15.
As long as those aren't touchdowns, yeah.
It's different, but it's like, if you give up a play in a drive that's like that, it's not necessarily a killer. We used to have a running joke in the Coug Center Slack about just how bad the quarterbacks were that we were playing. It was like, well, this works great as long as the quarterback's bad. And it's like, but you know what? There are a lot of bad quarterbacks out there. A lot of teams have not good quarterbacks. And so, when you, I think it's a pretty good bet to have a defensive philosophy that sort of says, all right, we're going to make you execute all the way down the field and bet that at some point you're not going to execute. You're either going to make a bad throw or you're going to, get yourself behind the chains or something, or you're going to turn the ball over. We're just going to make you execute all the way down the field. And, at some point, most of these guys will make mistakes. We've gotten sort of unfortunate in the last, few weeks that hasn't happened. UCLA seemed to be heading that direction. And then all of a sudden, Thompson Robinson, caught fire. But, Hundley, we didn't make Hundley work very hard. For the most part, didn't make Daniels, work very hard. And then this week they did do a good job making Montez work hard. So, if you can eliminate those back-breaking explosives, you give yourself a pretty good chance. And as you mentioned, time of possession is just not really, it's just not really all that relevant. The offense made sure that Colorado never really made contact. Even when got within a couple touchdowns, they came right back, touchdown, And then Colorado was just like, okay, never mind, we quit. We give up. We're ready to go back to Boulder.
Yep, and exactly, yeah, the time of possession thing. If your offense is going in and scoring a touchdown, then that's just, if there was only a 3 minute drive,
you just don't worry about it.
You're having a break. You're having a huge break between the kickoff and the extra point, and then like another break. Like your defense is getting rested, even if Oregon had some pretty good defenses with Chip Kelly, because like even though their offense was doing 1 minute drives, like because there's plenty of downtime in college football for commercials and stuff. So yeah, right. You get rested, and they were obviously fine. They were just as good in the second quarter as they were in the first, and after having been on the field for 10 minutes. So yeah, it was definitely okay. And I must say, I think my new friend's name came to me, our podcast listener Joel. So Joel, I'm sorry.
There we go.
He works for the Mariners, and which is pretty cool.
Yeah. That is cool.
So yeah, thanks for the fireball shot, Joel. I'm sorry I forgot your name at first, but I knew it would come to me again.
It's good that you remembered it all.
Yeah,
I'm impressed.
Exactly.
I'm duly impressed.
Yeah, thank you. Well, I made sure to. I was like, I made a mental note that I wanted to mention him on the podcast. So, because I appreciate he was very nice, very complimentary. So I appreciate that. But yeah, so defense, good. Jeff,
yeah.
Let's take a break and talk about another good thing. The offense.
Beer, then offense.
Oh, we're making them wait.
Those things are both good.
All right, break time.
And we're back.
All right, buy that product and/or service and/or listen to that podcast or I don't know.
I can totally vouch for that podcast.
Or product.
Or product.
Service or I don't know.
Or insurance product.
Something terrible. We're just going to be like... I haven't been listening to... sometimes I go through them just to hear what the ads were, but I haven't listened to the last few, just didn't have time to do it. Yeah. So we might be promoting some horrible things, but I trust SB.
Well, and then the other thing is like, okay, so if you're... People may not know this, but if you listen through the website at Coug Center, if you listen through a browser... it actually delivers regional ads depending on your location. So
I did not know that.
Yeah, so if you're streaming it through there, then yeah, you might actually get a different ad than what you get if you download the podcast through iTunes or whatever.
Well, yeah, you remember that time when I think this is before Google Ads, or maybe it was when Google Ads was new. We were getting some ads for some Husky store on Coug Center. Yeah. And we got lots of complaints about that. Yeah, so hopefully we're not saying buy that product, and it's like huskytickets.com or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah. So Jeff, what are you drinking?
I am having the Brother Thelonious Belgian-style Abbey Ale from North Coast Brewing, one of the OGs of craft brew. Let's see. So the reason why I bought this was because it's got a picture of Thelonious Monk on the front of it.
Right.
So you get the the monk thing with the Belgian style Abbey Ale and all that good stuff, of course. And it says we at the North Coast Brewing Company are serious jazz fans, and we're proud to make a donation to the jazz education programs of the Thelonious Monk Institute of Jazz for every bottle of Brother Thelonious sold. And I don't know if I've ever mentioned this on the podcast, but I imagine I have not, because I don't know why I would have had occasion to. But I was a saxophone player in high school once upon a time, and I was in the jazz band, and we had a quite good jazz band. In fact, we won our division at the Lionel Hampton Jazz Festival over there at the U of I. And so jazz is very near and dear to my heart, and jazz education is very near and dear to me. And so that's why I purchased this. It's actually been sitting, I think it's been in my fridge for a year, maybe. I don't know, something. It's been in there for quite a while. And I was like, I'm probably going to share it with somebody at some point. And then I just never did. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to drink it tonight. So there we go.
Excellent. How's it going for you? So what style is it? Double?
It is, I don't know. It just says it's a Belgian-style Abbey Ale. The alcohol is at about 9 something.
What color is it?
It's kind of, let's see. It's kind of a dark caramel color.
Okay, yeah, it's just like one of those Belgian strong ales, because doubles usually kick in, or they're usually around like 7 or 8%, and triples are about 9%, but triples are golden. So yeah, that's a kind of an American thing. They're just like, we use Belgian yeast, and yeah. So I haven't had that beer in 10 years. I know it was like you said, they're one of the OG craft breweries. This is sometimes I wish that we were drinking the beers together, and then so I could try try this beer again, because I haven't had it for so long. But yeah, are you digging it?
Yeah, it's good. It's not sometimes the high, I mentioned last week, we were talking barley wines last week, and I see sometimes the sweetness can be a little overpowering. I feel like it's sometimes this way on the higher alcohol Belgian styles, but this one's again not overpoweringly sweet. It's a good beer, and it's warming up. It's getting closer to the temperature at which I'm actually supposed to drink it. So, it's good. I like
Very
it.
nice, very nice. Yeah, North Coast Brewing. I think they've been around since the 80s. They're most famous for Old Rasputin.
Yes, they are. I love that beer.
Russian Imperial Stout.
That is one that I feel like is just like an outstanding beer, and it doesn't cost that much. And I feel like sometimes people are like, "Oh yeah, I've had that because it's been around for so long," and I'm like, "No, this is actually still a really good beer." Like that's, when you're looking for, just an imperial stout, at the price point, like it's an outstanding beer.
Yeah, and it's very widely available at this point.
Yeah, you can find it all over the place.
Yeah, it's actually it's a good gateway beer for people like to get into like stronger stouts, and not that anyone needs to do that, but yeah, it's a so
save yourself now. Don't get into it anyway.
So I actually have a story about that beer. You remember when way back in the day when I was still living, it was during Christmas, I was still living back east, but I was over and we went to the basketball game at the Key Arena, the WSU basketball game. So we had drinks with you and Sarah.
Yep.
At the tap house, the bit with the
Tap House Grill
downtown, and my dad and I had been there earlier that day, and then we met you guys before the game, or was it after? I don't even remember.
It was after.
It was after. So I think Dad, I know we walked to the game with you, so maybe we met there and then we went back there. But yeah, so they had a bunch. They have a flight. You can get a flight. They don't have they have a bunch of 120 taps of like stuff you can find pretty much anywhere at this point. But they did have. It was before Russian River.
This was like
2012, 2011. I think it was 2011, something like that.
Yeah.
It was it might have been 2010, because it might have been when I surprised my dad, didn't tell him, and then we got him to come over to go. I told him that I had bought him tickets for the Seahawks game for and for my sister and him and his wife to go. And then I was just like at my sister's apartment. She was living in Seattle all the time, and surprised him. So that was fun. It's always fun to make your dad cry. But anyway, so we went to that game as well. And that might have been a different year. But we went to that game. And so Dad and I went there for lunch, I think, earlier that day. And we had flights. And he got like, Guinness, Young's Double Chocolate Stout, some other like basic stout that he had drink. He was a big Guinness man at that point. Like he'd just drink Guinness all the time. And so at the last one, I told him, like, look, you got to get this Old Rasputin one and drink it last. Don't drink it before any of the other ones. Drink all the other beers first. So he's going through them. He gets a lot, like 5 different stouts. He gets the Old Rasputin. He's like, wow, that's amazing. And so he just started putting down glasses of Old Rasputin. And I was putting down glasses of Pliny the Elder, another OG beer that doesn't get distributed in Washington anymore. They pulled out of Washington in 2012. Russian River did, but yeah. So we were just downing. Pliny the Elder is like 8%. So we were feeling pretty good for that Cougar basketball game and after. Yeah. But I do remember one, and I know Sarah probably doesn't listen to this, but I do remember like they were getting like a stout mixed with cider, And Sarah liked it so much that she just drank one anyway, even with her celiac disease. She was like, I can feel it burning on the way down. She's like, but it's worth it. And that was pretty funny, because I don't think I knew Sarah that well at that point.
When she was like, well, I have celiac disease, but it's not that big of a deal.
Yeah, right.
And then it probably wasn't actually too long after that she finally went, actually, this is a big deal. I should stop doing this, So anyway, I do remember that I had Pliny that night, and that was, I think, pretty sure the first and only time I had it.
We'll have to go down to Portland sometime. It flows everywhere down there.
Yeah.
But
among the many reasons to go to Oregon for beer.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, so my dad, that is Old Rasputin, and for me, Old Rasputin was the beer that got me into getting like big stouts and stuff. But but for Dad, it was literally the beer that got him into like American craft beer.
That's good.
So that's how I started brewing in his life.
It's a good beer, man.
Yeah, it really is. Good choice. Cool brewery. Cool brewery to highlight. Well done, sir.
Thank you.
Yeah, I am drinking definitely not one of the OG breweries, but what I consider to be one of the best breweries in the United States. It's a beer from Anchorage Brewing Company. And it is a collaboration with a Portland brewery called Gigantic. But it was brewed and aged at Anchorage. So it is called An Eternity Saison, with Brettanomyces, which is a particular yeast that gives off some kind of funky flavors, and then aged on marionberries, brewed with marionberries, and then aged in oak foeders and all that good stuff. It's a big Saison, 8%, quite tasty, fermented in Alaska, what they always say on their bottles. It's got this like skull guy breaking out of a headless body holding a heart. It's quite a graphic label. I tweeted it on my Twitter account, Jeff. You could look at it, but it's pretty crazy. But the reason I chose it is because it's been an eternity since we could talk about a win.
Yeah, it feels like it.
So that felt fitting.
It was a month. It was a whole damn month without a victory. Anyway, continue.
Yeah, it's been an eternity since we could talk about a win. And then I think an eternity is what Amanda felt like after WSU went up 38-10, and there was like 12 minutes left, and she was just freezing cold and was just waiting for me to say it was okay to go. And so for her, so I had a double meeting.
That's when you know you've got an awesome partner, man.
Oh yeah, she knows there's certain things.
With you that whole time.
Well, she's like, if we were in the rain, I would have taken B and left. But I'm like, well,
nobody wants to sit in the rain.
Yeah. But she's like, because you had those, I stayed there. But she was free. She was colder than B. Well, of course, B was like, and B wanted to sit on me more. I think because I was like singing with her, and she loves singing I've been teaching her the fight song, so she calls it fight. She goes, play fight, play fight. Like so if you play it, like the WC Graduate School made a kind of an animated video on YouTube a few years ago, and it's really good, even though they use the long O, which I don't approve. But they do it basically. It's like a lyric video with the lyrics animated, and so she really likes that. She really likes the spelling out part, because it's like Sesame Street basically. But anyway, so. I know Amanda didn't want to take B from me because I was enjoying having her at the game for one game a year with her. But yeah, so it definitely felt like an eternity. And then for me, it kind of felt like an eternity because I knew Amanda was cold. And like when Trey Tinsley's coming in and throwing incomplete passes, I'm like, man, just complete the pass so we can leave. Like, it's cold. Right. Like, but I gotta see that tick down to 0. It needs to happen for me. And I was really glad that Colorado was kind of playing along and just running the ball. Because like I told Amanda, like, oh, Colorado's getting the ball back. 2 minutes are coming off the clock, guaranteed. They'll just be straight up running the whole time. But that fourth quarter, they had a couple. I was the third or fourth. The third quarter, I think, was the targeting. There was another replay in the fourth or something, and there was a couple injuries, and so there was just all sorts of timeouts. It's just like, come on, guys, let's
get this over with.
Was not a super long game. It was only official time 3 hours and 4 minutes, so it wasn't too bad. But
that's because Colorado obliged us by running plenty.
Yeah. This beer is good, by the way, but yeah, whatever. It's good. Anchorage is really good. They brew a lot of good saisons. They brew a lot of good what they're most revered for is their barley wines. So the brewer Gabe Fletcher started at Midnight Sun Brewing in Anchorage as well. He created a beer called Arctic Devil, which is a barrel-aged barley wine, which you can still get. Midnight Sun still makes. So Gabe is kind of like a barley wine dude, and so he brews a beer called A Deal with the Devil at Anchorage, and he doesn't ever do it the same way. Every release is pretty different, and sometimes they're super limited, and sometimes there's a lot of them, and it's just kind of crazy. It's funny, this most recent release, they just because people are selling some of them, like A Deal with the Devil Batch 3 can go for like $1,000 because it was like a 150 bottle count.
Jeez.
It was basically A Deal with the Devil Batch 1 that they just let age in the barrels for 2 years longer. So they left some in the barrels, and like basically a couple barrels, and they just let those go for 2 more years. And it's regarded as one of the best barley wines of all time. And yeah, it goes for like $1,000 there's probably not very many bottles left in existence. And that's why. So sometimes the brewers kind of want to catch some of that money because they're not getting any of that money when it gets resold. So their most recent A Deal with the Devil was a triple oaked. So what they did is they aged it in a bourbon barrel, then they aged it in 2 other types of barrels. So they basically transferred the beer between barrels every single time, which you lose a lot of barrels. So they're losing a lot of just product and transferring and all that. But that one they posted, and it got quickly taken down because people freaked out for $100 a bottle at the Anchorage tap room, and people flipped out about the price. So he just said, "Fuck all you guys," and he shipped most of it to Australia. And so either you got the beer, they had some at the Anchorage tap room, and then a lot of it went to Australia and China and stuff. So
that's hilarious.
So yeah,
and Australia's like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I did go to some real beer nerd bars when I was in Sydney, but like anything outside of that, yeah. So yeah, they got that. So you get guys who have bottles of it in the U.S. because they knew someone in Australia shipped them a bottle. So it got shipped from Anchorage down to Australia and then shipped from Australia back to the U.S.
That's hilarious.
Mainland U.S. So yeah, so that's been people have been trying to track that one down, and obviously not a high bottle count, it's triple barrel and whatever. But yeah, so they're a highly regarded brewery. They make a lot of really good barrel aged stouts. We had at the tailgate this weekend, we had a Darkest Hour barrel aged stout with coffee. That was delicious. I've mentioned before, you can get their beer at a lot of like bottle shops because they're distributed through Shelton Brothers. You can get them through Tavar as well. Oh shit! I just spilled beer on because I was grabbing my phone. But yeah, we can get through Tavar as well. But yeah, so very good brewery. Highly recommend checking them out. Buying a bottle off the shelf. They sell a lot of their beers in these like small bottles now. So yeah, go ahead and check them out. So so Jeff, let's talk about that offense.
Yeah. 52 minutes into the podcast.
Yeah. Good enough.
The offense was awesome, right? Like, I don't know. I think the most impressive thing was, and you alluded to it earlier, is the weather was terrible and it didn't really seem to affect Anthony Gordon at all. Which I think was sort of amazing as I'm watching, I'm kind of rewatching the game right now as we're talking. And I'm watching Steven Montez throw these fluttering ducks into, nowhere. And it's like, and then Gordon was really just kind of throwing darts everywhere. And Granted, we didn't throw a lot of bombs, and we don't, normally throw a lot of bombs, so it's not like it was a huge deal, but it was like, when he needed to make a 20-yard pass, he could still make a 20-yard pass. I mean, I think, if I remember right, it was one of the touchdown drives, the last couple touchdown drives, he made just like a sweet, like 20-yard throw, dropping it just right over the linebacker in front of the safety, right at the sideline.
Right. Right at Esau.
Yeah, it was just a gorgeous, gorgeous throw. I kind of, and I know we're not, necessarily kind of thinking about this down the road, but it's like, I do think that there's a chance when it's time for him to get drafted. I mean, this might be a game that scouts look at and think that, wow, that's pretty impressive, to throw the ball the way he was throwing it in that weather with a wet ball, still tight spirals, still throwing darts for the most part. And I mean, we'll be honest too. I mean, his receivers dropped at least 3 balls that I can think of off the top of my head.
Right.
Very catchable balls. A couple of them were touchdowns.
Eastop Winston dropped a touchdown.
Eastop Winston dropped a touchdown. I mean, the throw was a little, it was a little high, and it was like about face mask high or maybe a little higher, and it was a bullet. But it was like, I mean, that's a pass he catches.
He could have taken a little bit off. He could have taken a little bit off for sure.
Yes. But that's a pass he catches, and there was, Tay Martin dropped a touchdown that, you should catch. And there was another, I'm trying to remember who, but, there was at least one other drop that I remember. He didn't get as much help from his receivers as he typically does, and was still pretty nails and awesome. And, given the circumstances, given the need for a win, just kind of the whole thing in totality, Gordon had a hell of a game, and he did make the one not great decision there on that 4th down, where he ends up flushing out to the right completely unnecessarily. Like, I don't know what he was thinking. I think as near as I could tell from watching it, I think he thought that he had the edge and he could just run for it.
Yeah, it seemed like he was,
yeah,
he was confident when he took off, but then he might have realized he is.
Yeah, and then
it
was like, oh shit, never mind, I'm toast, and there was really nowhere to go with the ball. That was the thing. Like, he started going to the right, and I thought, well, is he trying to like create a window to throw the ball? I mean, there was not. I mean, Dez had kind of done like a little in and out type route. I mean, I don't know what you call those, but it's like, he kind of slanted in and then pivoted to the outside, and there were 2 guys on him. Like, they were jumping the slants on that particular down, and it just never really materialized. And like I said, I think he thought he could run for it, and there was a linebacker out there, and he didn't have a chance. But other than that decision, for the most part, he seemed to make pretty good decisions, and 369 yards is not the biggest game he'll ever have, but certainly, real good yards, and, just made some really excellent throws, particularly considering the elements. So very impressive from Gordon. Really great to have Arconato back, just working that middle of the field. And, again, it's, the thing with Arconato that's sort of crazy is you realize, I mean, Bell was working in that Y spot, and just not giving you the same kind of production from there that Arconato was. And so that tells you something about what Arconato means to the offense. So good to have him back. Good to see Tay Martin come back. Granted, he had -6 yards, which is a pretty amazing thing.
Because of that, that little pop pass thing.
Yeah, which didn't go great.
Why it wouldn't, and it never does.
No, it doesn't. It never ever. The only thing I can think of why we still run that stupid thing is that it must like create some sort of, like some sort of, you got to keep the defense honest thing with the window dressing,
right?
Like when they do the motion, like I got to think, okay, we got to run this stupid thing, 1 play a game, just to keep them honest. But Tay Martin did catch a little fade touchdown, so that was good, and everybody kind of got in on the action. So. Really excellent all-around performance from the offense, and the sort of thing we expect. And hopefully they've got maybe a spectacular performance in them, next weekend or going forward against one of these teams we need to beat in order to get bowl eligible.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, we talked we talked about this being a game that we could see Max getting more touches, and he got 21, 9 catches on 9 targets. So, he doesn't, running backs typically catch most of the targets because they're not, downfield passes, but and then 12 carries, which so he over 100 yards on those 12 carries. We talked about if he got like 14 or 15, he probably would go over 100 because of Colorado's defense. Obviously, that 48-yard touchdown run helped a lot. But yeah, so Max was explosive. Of course, one thing that a lot of people have been clamoring for is to use him in short yardage more.
Yeah.
We talked about it earlier that they failed on 2 consecutive 3rd and shorts using Max. And you and I were talking about this in the Slack. When on 3rd and shorts, I just, you always like to have this. Well, I do every down, like from my vantage point in the seats. I kind of look at the box and try to guess if he's going to run, if Gordon's going to hand it off or not. And Colorado was kind of stacking the middle quite a bit. I don't think they wanted to let Borghi beat them. They were kind of putting guys in the middle. Not necessarily in the box, but near, and especially after ASU, how they were able to kind of like...
ASU did the same thing. Like they were not wanting Borghi to beat them. And remember that these short runs you're talking about, they came after Borghi had, a 40 yard touchdown run.
So yeah, I know on the first one, you had some linebackers over the top. They had their 4-man front. You had some linebackers that were close enough to the line. So I counted 6.
There were 6. So I know I said I'm watching the game as we're talking. Just saw it like 5 minutes ago. There were 6 dudes. There were 6 dudes. There were 6 within, the little
5
box.
yards or whatever.
Like it was... There were 6 guys, and the one guy who was unaccounted for made the tackle. Like it was, he kind of strafed down the line and then shot through the gap, and he's the one who made the tackle. Now, Abe didn't hold his block maybe as long as he could have,
right?
But it also didn't make a difference. Like it was that linebacker who was unblocked. It was 5-on-6. He didn't bail out at the end. Now, had they gone play action pass on that, they might have had a massive play because the linebacker was fully committed to stopping the run there. He was 2 steps towards the line of scrimmage as soon as it sort of looked like it might have been a pass or it might have been a run. So it could have been a huge play, but as it wasn't. And I think it's kind of what you were alluding to just there, that there seems to be this feeling that, Max can get a yard no matter what. And it's like, no, he can't. If it's 5-on-6, he can't, or maybe he can, but
he can break a tackle, but still, it has to be 5-on-6 and perfectly blocked. 5-on-6,
right,
perfectly blocked.
It has to be perfectly blocked, and he has to make a guy miss. Now, can he do that? He can, no doubt about it. He can do that.
But it's hard when in the backfield.
That's not what you want to do.
Yeah,
it's not. It's not what you choose to do.
In the second one, they had straight up just 6 guys on the line. They had them completely on the line.
Yep.
Just one of the guys off the guy farthest outside on the edge. I saw people say that Ryan whiffed on a block, which he could have, but it may have been he just picked a different guy because they had 6 guys and they had a block. There was only a single back formation. There was not another blocker in the mix. That's it. You have 5 blockers. You got the 5 guys on the line. There isn't a tight end coming in to chip or a running back coming in to chip or anything. Like, so it's not your standard formation, like where you might have a fullback and you might have a tight end helping with the blocking. That's why we do the box counting. And that's why they don't run as much, is because they just don't have the people in there to do it. And, I know on the field goal drive when they didn't when they just threw the ball a bunch and ended up kicking a field goal, it was the same. Like Colorado was stacking the middle. Like there wasn't room there to now you could, like, if you don't like it, then you just have a serious problem with the offense in general,
right? Which I think some people do.
Yeah,
I mean, some people do.
So if that's your qualms, I don't know. Go ahead and look at the points that he's been scoring and look at their record over the last 4 years. So
I mean, this team's averaging over 30 points a game. I think the offense is fine, but
Yeah. But yeah, so
people just have their thing, it's like, oh, we need to run the ball. And it's like, well, yeah, but
if we ran the ball more, we'd have to kind of fundamentally change the way the roster is structured.
And it's okay. So, get a tight end or bring in a sixth offensive lineman or something. I mean, there are different things you could do, but Mike Leach has his philosophy: for everything you add, you take something away, because there's only so many things you can be good at executing, is at least his philosophy. And it's like, okay, so, if you're going to add, and it even works sort of at a micro level, right? Where if you add a lineman, all of a sudden, okay, so to the defense that says, okay, this other play is no longer an option. We no longer have to cover this part of the field. And the idea is to make sure that the defense has to cover, every part of the field at all times. And, so that means that sometimes on a short yardage play, you're going to have to throw the ball instead of running. And I know that defensive coordinators would always prefer that, because they're just, a guy like Mel Tucker is like, hey, I'm going to put 6 guys in the box and make sure that he has to throw the ball to get it, because, defensive coordinators just have the mindset of, if, when a team throws the ball, a whole bunch of negative things can happen too, right? It's not just positive. And so, I think they would almost always prefer that a team throw a ball on a short yardage situation. And, if you're WSU, we've seen them make that routine short throw, about 1,000 times, and, you just roll with it there. So, Borgie's great. I love him. I'm glad he's our running back. He's definitely our most explosive, maybe most talented player. I also know that, trying to force feed him the ball in a situation where, the defense has put themselves in a position to stop a run, is sort of silly. And I think that hopefully, but probably not, hopefully that those 2 short yardage runs maybe show people that perhaps it's not such a great idea to, just demand that Borgie get the ball. But, one can hope that our fans will maybe sort of see the wisdom of, hey, sometimes you just, running the ball 5-on-6 maybe isn't the best strategy.
And WSU picks up lots of short yardage throwing the ball. So I don't.
Yeah, they do.
People only remember the bad things, but there's tons of short yardage plays that they make. I mean, they converted 2 goal-to-go touchdowns, inside the 5 with throws. And they do that all the time. So it's not. It's frustrating, if they have the ball on the 2 and then there's not a run, but like we said, like we just described, the run isn't guaranteed to get that yard or 2, even when you have like an all conference level running back. Like it's just sometimes the defense is set up to stop it, and barring, you're basically asking Max to make like an incredible play where he's just gotten the ball handed off and has to make a guy miss immediately to get out of the backfield. So, which he can do, but he was just swarmed on those 2 plays, and yeah, they weren't blocked perfectly, but maybe that's another reason why you shouldn't do it. Like if the offensive line isn't as adept as maybe they've been in the past at blocking in short yardage, maybe that's a reason that it's not working out. But yeah, so I don't know. That's the thing
that gets overlooked though, right? Is like, they're going to block it up and it'll be great. And it's like, well, I mean, one guy can whiff on a block on a run just as soon as, a receiver can drop a pass or whatever. I mean, like, these things can happen, even on short yardage plays, these things can happen. One guy misses a block and blows up the whole thing. So I think that's the part that gets overlooked sometimes, but I understand where the sentiment comes from. Like, Borgie's great. Like, I'm not trying to minimize that at all, but I do think sometimes it gets a little overly simplistic where, people are like, run the ball more. And it's maybe not quite that simple, and not as easily successful as it seems like it should be. When you go, well, it's only 1 yard, and it's like, yeah, but if you've got one guy unblocked, It's like that guy's going to come running free, and it's tougher to get that 1 yard. Now, if you go 5-on-6 and you're counting on Borgie to miss, make a guy miss, I mean, I like our chances, but I'm also like it's not a guaranteed. So anyway, I think we've probably beat that thing to death.
Yeah, we'll beat it to death. But yeah, he did. He still got 21 touches in the game, by far the most touches, targets, whatever. Like Arconato, 5 catches, over 100, touchdown. Like you mentioned him, it's kind of funny. He had 9. I saw on the stat he had 9 targets. That kind of dampened his yards per target a little bit, but those 2 incomplete passes from Tinsley at the end of the game, kind of hurt his stats a bit. But yeah, obviously Arconato is a favorite of these guys that have been the backup quarterbacks for years. So because they've been running on the same schedule. So the offense did about as well as you could hope in those conditions. The yards per play aren't, eye popping, but over 7 is good. And when you're talking about the rain, honestly, I think if they were playing Colorado and, on a clear day, they would have been even easier. Yeah. I feel really good about how well they performed in the weather. You always get that stress for the weather with the Cougs, so with the air raid, but it didn't. They were just fine, and they were able to take advantage of frankly a really terrible defense and make them look like the bad defense that they are. So that's always good. Which
is what you want.
Yep. That's always good. It'll be different next week, but we'll talk about that on Friday.
It'll probably be really different next week. That's all right. We're going to enjoy this one for now.
Yeah. All right, man. You want to talk about some other scores?
Yeah, I mean, I was a little surprised that Arizona State didn't give Utah a little bit better game. But also kind of not surprised. Like I kind of thought Arizona State's offense would be better. You mentioned Oregon and Washington, so that was awesome. Super awesome.
Yeah.
Go Ducks.
Blowing the 10-point lead in the second half.
Oh, you hate to see it, Craig.
You hate to see it.
You hate to see it.
But yeah, so that makes it like one win out of the last 13 or something for UW in that series.
Yeah, good job.
Yeah, it's funny. I was looking at Oregon was 12 and UW was 25, and that was the same rankings that UW or WSU and Oregon were for game day last year. Oregon was 12 and WSU was 25.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Obviously, that Oregon team was a bit overrated.
Yeah.
And
but
WSU
let's hope this year we have maybe some of the same lingering effects, right?
Yeah.
Where
absolutely.
Oregon has a little bit of a Washington hangover and is feeling pretty good about themselves, and our offense maybe does some things. That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah. And how about those Beavs?
Oh my goodness. They're like making sure that we're appropriately scared for their appearance in November. That game's got issues written all over it, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, you're talking it's November 23rd. So it's going to be just trash weather, which might hurt both the teams actually, but their offense looks legit.
Yeah.
And they were able to take advantage of a Cal offense that is just not
absolutely
worth anything.
Not legit.
Yeah. So yeah, that was, it's funny. I was talking with a few people. I'm like, so what, now do we feel good now about our chances at Cal? Do we feel worse about Oregon State? Probably both.
Probably both.
Do you look at one and see as a higher probability of winning? But I still think Oregon State is an easier game. But it's maybe it's just not the walkover that we would have thought it was in the early season. Oregon State has two conference wins now.
They beat UCLA.
Yeah, they beat UCLA, and they are.
We can't say that.
Nope, and they are currently second in the Pac-12 North.
I know we
at
are
2-2.
They're second in the Pac-12 North, and we are one game behind.
Yeah, we're one game behind. We got a whole bunch of teams with 3 losses already.
Yeah.
UW, Stanford, and WSU all have 3 losses.
Yeah, the Pac-12
Cal
North
has 3 losses. Yeah, so some of the teams you thought were at the top are just starting out pretty poorly. Yeah, and of course, yeah, Stanford. It's like, what the heck is going on there?
Yeah.
It's like you beat UW one week, and it's just like you can't. Then you come out and lose to UCLA like the next week. It's just, and then UCLA, like what the heck? You lose to Oregon State one week, go and beat Stanford at Stanford. Maybe it's a rivalry game. I don't know. Like the Pac-12 is bananas. Of course, USC pounding Arizona, who had looked pretty decent.
Yeah.
Man, it's
Arizona, who lost to BYU, who went and beat Boise State. So, whatever. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Or USC lost to BYU, but but
that's what I meant.
Anyway, I know. That's what you meant. But yeah, so yeah,
I'm pretty deep into this Brother Thelonious. I'll just say that.
Yeah, so it's pretty wild nonsense. Like there are just so many teams with 3 or 4 losses in the conference right now.
I know, and that would be awesome if Oregon wasn't undefeated.
Yeah, well, I mean, now Oregon's not really gonna, if Oregon didn't get that Auburn win, now they're running out of chances for good wins. Really, they have ASU late in the season, but ASU is probably going to pick up another loss in between now and then. They're not going to be ranked. They're barely hanging on at like 24 right now.
But they will get a chance to play Utah.
In the Pac-12 championship.
In the Pac-12 championship. Yeah. So
they need Utah to win out, which Utah probably will.
If Oregon wins out, I think they'll be in. I really do. Like I don't think that one loss against Auburn first game of the season, which I think most, I don't know. I mean, obviously we'll kind of get a sense when we see the, see the initial CFP rankings. I mean, what's that, like next week, right?
Yeah, I think it should be next week.
Yeah, next week. Once that comes out, we'll have a better sense maybe of how the committee's viewing that loss to Auburn. But, obviously that's a game that they very easily could have won. I mean, I won't go so far as to say should have won, but it's like they very easily could have won that game.
Just a little brief fact check. It's November 5th. Is the
November 5th. There we go. So it's the week after next. So it's like, they very easily could have won that game. They've, taken on all comers so far in the Pac-12. Most of the games they've made look fairly easy. They just won a road game against a team that people think is, one of the more talented teams in the conference. Like they're legit, and it's going to be interesting to see what happens. I mean, some of these other teams are going to cannibalize themselves a little bit when it comes to Auburn, Georgia, LSU. I don't know if they all play each other during the regular season or not, but some of that stuff's going to happen. Ohio State probably will lose to somebody completely unexpectedly because that's what they do, and if Oregon keeps winning, I think they'll be in. I think it'll be fine. So that'll be great to ruin that next weekend.
Yeah, that's because honestly, if they they get by us, their road games are at USC and Arizona State. Both they could easily win, and then home games against Arizona and Oregon State. So that's that. I mean, and then with hosting WSU, like really, it's in front of them. Like if it really is, like it really is in front of them because probably you're thinking Stanford was going to be one of their tougher ones. It wasn't, and then you were thinking Washington would be another tough one, and they got by that one. Yeah. But you know what? It's the Pac-12, so they'll probably punt one. So let's let it be. I know.
Well, and the crazy thing is, I mean, they're in a position where they can punt 2 probably and still win the Pac-12 North. It's like,
yeah, they're 2 games up right now.
They're 2 games up, and they've already got a win over Washington.
And it's Oregon State is the next down, and Oregon State's going to lose again.
And it doesn't matter. Honestly, it doesn't really matter if they lose to us because we've already got 3 losses. So
yep.
Yeah, it's crazy pants. It's absolutely bonkers. And but they've obviously got bigger ambitions than just winning the Pac-12 North, and as they should. And I think it's pretty clear that they and Utah are really the class of the conference.
That's very clear at this point.
Yeah, I talked last week. I thought Arizona State's offense was pretty good, and then of course they did nothing whatsoever against Utah. I didn't watch that game, so I really don't know how it unfolded or went down, but they really didn't do anything.
Usually not moving the ball down the field to only score 3 points. So.
Yeah, no. So I think it's pretty clear that Oregon and Utah are sort of the class of the conference, and as long as neither one of them sort of trip over their appendages over the next month or so. It should actually be a pretty fun Pac-12 championship game between those 2 teams, particularly since they won't play during the regular season.
Yeah, so and of course both of those road games on WSU's schedule. They've already and currently Utah is rated number 9 in SP Plus, and Oregon is number 11.
Yep.
And then of course WSU has a road game at Washington at number 13. They had a road game at Arizona State, which is at 34, and then so the easiest one becomes Cal, which I don't know where they're at. They're 61. They're 61 now. So yeah,
doesn't matter. They could be 110. It doesn't even matter.
Yeah.
Like playing in frickin' Berkeley.
Yeah.
But
so
whatever.
we talked about the tough schedule, and it's as tough as we could have imagined. Really, we probably thought Cal was going to be a little better, but I'm glad they're not. Yeah. So
that could be the linchpin to the season. By the way, that game right there.
Well, if you
the fact that they're not as good as you expected, their offense is a mess. That's definitely the sort of game where you go, okay, that's a game we figured probably lose, probably less than 50% chance of winning, and suddenly that looks like a game that maybe you should win.
I know. Well, if WSU is 26 in SP Plus and Cal is 61.
Yep.
SP Plus starts to become pretty much better predictive at this point.
Yep.
Yeah. So it's kind of wild, but it's also that Cal. So if you assume WSU loses this week, which who knows? They've beaten Oregon 4 in a row. Who knows? But assume they lose this week. If you can get that Cal one, you're sitting at 5 wins with 2 home games in a row. And suddenly getting to a bowl seems a lot nicer than it did before the Colorado game. Obviously, we're feeling a little bit better about the team now because of how they were able to dominate Colorado. They beat a team that was rated right around where Cal is rated, pretty rough. And of course, that UCLA is rated 65 now, so they've come up a little bit, but they still shouldn't have lost that game.
A lot.
Yeah, they've come up a lot. They come up a lot. Obviously, their performance against WSU is probably driving a lot of that. When you have the number 26 team and you beat them, that probably helps your rating quite a bit. But they've had good performances against Stanford as well. So yeah, Oregon State's 68 now. Stanford's the easiest team left on the schedule. How wild is that?
That's super wild. Super duper wild. Let's hope they're still playing second and third string quarterbacks by the time they play us.
I know. Yeah, come on. We need some of those. We haven't got a backup yet this year. We need some more quarterback luck. Yeah. We want that quarterback luck. That 2016, 2017 quarterback luck. Bring it back. We'll get it. We'll get it with Cal. Everyone's getting it with Cal. Everyone's getting that quarterback luck with Cal. But hopefully they don't figure anything out in the next couple games.
Yeah. Let's hope.
Yeah. So yeah, WSU just beat the second easiest game left on their schedule, and then apparently Stanford is now the easiest, which you would have never guessed. That's not something you would have said in the last 12 years or 15
even
years or whatever.
3 weeks ago when, or
after
2
they
weeks
beat
ago
UW.
I was going to say 2 weeks ago when you and I were sitting in a bar in Yakima, watching Stanford beat Washington. Like, I mean, gosh, man, it's like, it's crazy. It's absolutely like the whole thing. Is David Shaw still a genius, by the way?
I don't know. Yeah, it's funny when you're still coaching. I mean, it's you got the Pete Carroll syndrome, that coaching the team you want and not the team you
wish
have.
you had, and not the one you actually have.
So yeah, he's still punting the ball in precarious situations, kicking field goals, and then suddenly his defense is giving up points, and it's not looking so good at the end. But yeah, so it's, I don't know, like, WSU's stumbling too, but obviously they're stumbling, but still, like, it's been more bad luck and less bad luck, bad defense, but bad luck a lot, because WSU has an offense that can beat just about anyone, but the bad defense and combined with the bad luck in a couple games is why they're sitting where they are, of course.
Well, and we're also stumbling with recruiting classes ranked in the 50s and 60s, not with top 30-ish, 25-ish recruiting classes like Stanford's been getting.
Yeah,
so.
Stanford gets every smart football player.
They get any smart guy they want, pretty much.
Yeah.
It's them and Notre Dame for the most part, I imagine, fighting over smart guys. So,
right.
And they're not good again. So
I hopefully that continues for Pullman.
Hopefully,
I don't know. Yeah. So that Cal Stanford combo was a lot more daunting in the start of the season, and even more daunting last week. But when we're still feeling shitty after ASU, but obviously when you put the two together, the ASU and Colorado performances, ASU, they lost to a roughly evenly matched team at home or on the road. So what do you expect? That's kind of what you expect to do. But it was just on the back of the UCLA and Utah losses that we were just kind of feeling downtrodden, but kind of that, I think the ASU might have been kind of the riding the ship to more the expectation.
Yeah.
And then just beating the heck out of Colorado is finally going to that other side where you're not performing as expected, you're performing better than expected, and just whipping up on someone. And so hopefully WSU can have more of those games the rest of the season. They'll definitely need it times 10 this week, but yeah, against Cal, against Oregon State, against Stanford, just to get those superlative performances, particularly from the defense. That would just that would make this stretch run, 5-game stretch run, 4 games plus UW stretch run a lot more enjoyable. I'm feeling a little bit better about bowl eligibility, but it's just like I don't know if the math changes, because now you're taking some percentage off of Oregon State and you're putting it on to Cal, and you're taking some off of Stanford, and I don't know.
But if you still figure that Oregon State is a similarly talented team to Colorado, then, granted, maybe the weather's not such a disaster or whatever, but
it probably will be. It's November 23rd in Pullman.
Yeah, and so that's a team you should beat, right? And I don't know if they're going to beat them by 4.5 touchdowns.
Well, honestly, those 3 games in a row are all teams that WSU should beat.
Yeah,
and then you have the two really tough road games as the bread for the games you should win, the games that should get you to the bowl sandwich in there. Those are the 3. You got to get at least 2 of those 3, or just beat Oregon this week and then run the table if you want. That's fine. 10
That'd
wins.
Be okay too.
10 wins is still on the table after all.
Yeah, we're okay with that.
Yeah. I mean, it might be too late to. It's sad. It might be too late to actually win the conference, like win the division. I mean, because you'd have to. Well, I guess you beat Oregon. You'd have to hope that. This is a nonsense hypothetical because it involves beating Washington, but but beat Oregon. Then you have to win out and then hope that Oregon loses another game. And then whatever, but whatever. But yeah, so that's joking, of course.
You got to win out and hope Oregon loses 2 more games.
No, not if they beat Oregon. They just have to tie them.
But Oregon's
that's right.
got 3 losses.
That's right. They would. Yeah. So that's
you would need 3.
So this is the first time in 5 years at WSU since 2014 where WSU is not in
control of its own destiny.
Not in control or in the race at this point.
Yeah.
Because they've been in control of their own destiny. Except for 2015 that. When they lost to Stanford, they were no longer in control of their own destiny. But 2016, 2017, 2018, they just had to win out and beat Washington. They just had to beat Washington. They just had to win all those games and beat Washington.
How hilarious would it be if we won out and Oregon lost one other game and we're looking at that UCLA game?
Shut up. I mean, we're already looking at the UCLA game because even if you get that game, they're 5-2 right now, and they're probably ranked 22nd or something, and if you beat Arizona State last week, you might be ranked right now. That's true. Yeah, because Arizona State was ranked, so you're getting that boost.
Yeah, because you'd be getting that boost from beating a ranked team that probably wasn't that good to begin with. So. Whatever.
Yeah, man. I don't know. Yeah, so
whatever. It's just one of those seasons, and let's just get to a damn bowl game. I don't even care which one. And as long as that, like we've talked about, like if that's the floor, if our new floor is 6-6 or 7-5 in a bowl game, then that's awesome, and I'm totally okay with that.
Yeah, but all right, man. I'm feeling a lot better about life in general. Because the defense didn't look horrible, awful, terrible, and actually looked pretty damn good against a pretty solid offense. And then the offense was, because we're gonna have a bunch of there's 2 home games in November. There's gonna be more bad weather, but there's gonna I don't know what the weather's gonna be in Eugene, what it's gonna be in Seattle. There's going to be more bad weather games, but it feels good that they can still move the ball in bad weather. Anthony Gordon, that was probably one of his. I know it's probably one of his least impressive statistical performances.
Might have been his best game.
Yeah, I think
might
so.
have been.
Yeah, like just dealing with all that crap, and then you look at the guy on the other side who's another senior, but who has a billion starts, and just totally fell apart again in that weather. You feel pretty good about your guy and how he did not fall apart in that weather.
Yep, feel great.
So yeah, we still know that offense is great. They are still ranked number 4 in SP+. It'd be really cool if they could keep. I mean, you got next week just a little teaser. Number 4 offense WSU versus the number 8 defense in Oregon. So let's not talk about the other side of it.
No, I'm just excited. I'm not. We'll talk about this later this week, but I'm super excited to see what our offense might do. Obviously against the last good defense we played didn't go well. I think we're a better offense now than we were then. Just in the sense that Gordon's got another couple of games under his belt.
Arconato's healthy.
Again. Yeah, Arconato's healthy. That Utah game was, I think we all just kind of went, okay, that's a learning experience. And if a couple things go differently, you're maybe scoring a little more than 13 points. So excited to see what they do against Oregon, and Oregon's going to be out for blood. No doubt about that. That's going to be, that's going to be a big thing. Oregon's going to be wanting to exact some revenge, but Oregon's also, coming off a big win, and, you hope that maybe they're overlooking some things or feeling good about themselves, and maybe we can do some damage, through the air against them.
Yeah, man. All right. Cheers to talking about a win.
Absolutely.
I will be talking to you from the beach.
You'll be in Mexico.
In Mexico. The next 2 episodes. So, yeah, the preview and the recap. So hopefully everything's happy.
Hopefully you could actually watch the game.
Oh yeah, I already have my ways.
You figured that out already?
Yeah, I got it figured out. I got Sherwood offered me up a dish anywhere password,
well done.
And so yeah, thanks Kyle. But yeah, so I'll be able to watch it. I'll probably be down in one of those bars, in the all inclusive, just feed me some Don Julio, and let's get this W.
Let's go.
They're like, what is that weird dude, that gringo over there, just like chugging tequila?
I'm sure they're used to Americans doing like stupid things.
Oh yeah, I'll be in like head to toe WSU gear and just be like, let's go Cougs.
Be like, we don't understand you Americans.
Oh, if the Cougs do win that game and I'm in Mexico, they're gonna see. So, like, I don't know. It's going to be great.
They're going to be like, we love Wazoo. That guy tips.
Yeah, right? All right, that reminds me, I need to get some cash before we go down
there. Get some ones.
Yeah.
I don't know. Ones? Do you tip with ones? Do you tip with fives? How do you tip?
I was thinking fives, probably. You tip once.
Fives.
You tip for every few drinks with like a 5.
There you go.
And or you give maybe like a 10. Like if you know you're going to be sitting at the pool for maybe a 10 or a 20 if you're sitting at the pool for a while, and then they'll come back and serve you more often,
there you go,
because like, oh, they're nice. So that's my strategy. I think usually at these resorts in Mexico they take US money usually, so I'll do like for
I
tips.
Would hope so.
For tips, yeah, so I don't have to go to currency exchange, but I'll figure that out. I don't know. I'm excited for some sun after freezing my ass off in Pullman.
No kidding, you deserve it. You earned it.
All right, Amanda earned it, so
yeah, she deserves it too.
Yeah, we're hoping to see some sea turtles and all that. They got the reef down there, so yeah. But cool. So I will be more tan when we talk again, sir.
Cool.
And go Cougs.
Go Cougs.